One of the coolest features in Muzie is probably the Midi keyboard. When you're outside of a lesson, the Midi keyboard can be found under Tools and then here under Keyboard. From here, you'll see that you have a piano at the bottom of the screen that's completely interactive. So anything that you click will light up and play. You'll also notice that those notes will transcribe onto the staff at the top of the page. Currently, this only supports quarter notes, but it's a great way of practicing your note reading and sort of seeing the relationship between the notes on the staff and the notes on the instrument. The Midi piano has tons of features built into it. So it's actually not just a piano. The first thing you'll see is in all capital letters, you see Select Instrument, Piano. You can change this to a guitar or to a violin. You could also then change the sound of the instrument. There's about 20 different sounds. This is really great for group lessons if you want everyone to be a specific different sound, so it's easy to tell who's who, or if you just want to have some fun with it. But you can go through and pick any sound that you'd like, and then when you click and play, you will hear the new sound. So from the piano, like I said, you can pick any sound you want. So we'll do grand piano. If you have a MIDI device, that would be like a MIDI piano, a MIDI guitar, a MIDI violin pickup. If you have any of those things, you can plug them into your computer or connect them to your computer. And from this menu, you should be able to see any devices that you have connected. So we'll click the drop down and we see that I've got my little hypercontroller here. So I'm going to choose the MIDI option. If nothing shows up in that menu and you do have your device connected, click this little refresh button and it should load your MIDI option. Once that's connected, you can just play the MIDI device and anything you play will just play and show up on screen. I was just playing the MIDI piano that's on my desk, and as you can see, it's playing anything I play right there on screen. There's a couple of different view options that you can select. No notes is default, so it just lights up the keys when you play them. You can have key numbers, which will just number the keys. You can have notes, which will just list the name of the note and the octave across the keys. You can have notes below. This is pretty cool because when you play something, the note shows up at the bottom, but then fades away after a couple of seconds. And then sticky notes. This can be really great if you're trying to draw or outline certain chords or scales. You can just sort of stick the notes on the keys, so to speak. Now, you can also change the flats and sharps. So when you are using flats and sharps, you can change back and forth between those. You can also add and subtract the amount of octaves that you see. So you can bring this out to a full 88 key piano. So if you do have a full keyboard and you want to plug that in and play that, everything will work in real time. This inactive button is pretty cool. So if you click inactive, it should then change to active. And basically what that means is you can now do typing and playing. So if you're using a computer, the keyboard on your computer, where the letters A, S, D, F, G, H, J, K, and the top line, where it's QWERTY and O, U, I, O, P, you can click any of those notes or keys, and they will trigger the piano. So just as an example, I'm clicking the letter A on my computer, and it lights up C. I can also use X and Z to jump up and down the octaves. So I'm still just clicking the A key on my computer, but I'm just clicking Z and X to jump up and down those octaves. You can also play chords. It's really cool. It's a great way of being able to still access the piano without actually needing to go out and buy anything. If you have a touch device, like an iPad, a tablet, a touchscreen computer, a phone, anything of, that nature, this is touch friendly. So you can just sort of turn the device sideways so you get, the nice horizontal view, and then you can just start tapping away and it will work, respond to that. The little I is toggling the transcription, turning this on and off. So basically, if that's distracting for you, you can just turn that off if it's not something that you need. When you're in a lesson, this padlock will stop students from using the piano. And we'll talk about this in a lesson in a second. The clear sticky notes will just clear away everything that's on the whiteboard, on the keys. And that will just, as you can see, go back to the default layout. And then this settings option is actually everything you see here, but just put into a menu. So it's just a little bit easier to kind of go through here really quickly. But it's the same information that you have across the top, just in a form. Now, when you're in a lesson, the MIDI piano really stands out because it transmits MIDI across the lesson in real time. MIDI is much faster than audio, so it is basically lagless. So when you're in a lesson, you'll see that you have the piano icon at the bottom of the screen. You can click that and the MIDI piano will pop up. And then just like we said before, anything we play or do will transmit directly to the student and it will play on their side almost instantaneously. It's a great way of, hesitate to say playing duets because there is still lag, but it's a really good way of being able to play something and your students hear it nice and crisp and they play something back and you hear it nice and crisp because it's just triggering the MIDI. It's not going through any microphones or anything like that. One other cool thing that you can do with these transcriptions is, let's say we just play some chords and get a little bit of a melody on there, so to speak. You can do a couple different things. You can delete this transcript if it's just not what you want. You can upload the transcript, which actually has a cool feature where you can upload it directly to the whiteboard and it will open a new whiteboard and have this as the template in the whiteboard automatically. It's a really cool way of making some notations and then annotating those notations in the lesson. Sort of saves you the process of saving it and then opening a whiteboard and then uploading it as a file. So it just sort of speeds up that process. The next item you'll see there is the preview playback. Now this is really cool because what this does is it actually converts that transcription into Music XML. So if you've seen our Music XML video, you'll understand that you can upload playable sheet music to Muzie. You can also generate your own playable sheet music in Muzie. So from here, I'm just going to click play. Apologize for not the prettiest melody in the world, but as you can see, it plays back exactly what it is I just played on my piano. I can even change the tempo. I can change the volume. So you have full controls over playing that back. Really cool for writing little exercises for your students to work on. And all of these, just like anything, can be added into an assignment or, used as practice resource for the students. So the MIDI is really neat. It's got a lot of things built into it, lots of capabilities. One thing you can also do in a lesson is, say you want to play a piece of sheet music, you can open tools over the whiteboard. So what you'll see is when we open the tools, you can actually have the whiteboard open. You can have resources open over the piano, not over the whiteboard. So you can open whiteboard files and they will appear above the piano. So we're not cutting off the bottom of that whiteboard. The whiteboard's actually shifted up slightly so that you can play whatever's on that board. It makes it really cool as far as a collaborative tool and just being able to be used in quite a few different situations. One other thing too is if you're in this situation where you've opened your tools and you don't have the piano open, you can actually just click this little tools menu and then select piano and it will just rise up from the bottom. So you don't need to close everything and go find it. It's just hiding there in the tools menu. The reason that the piano is not a tab is for this reason, so that it can be used alongside other tools. That's a pretty common question. But if you have any questions about how to use this in a lesson, you can just use the help chat. And of course, if you're not in a lesson, we've got our built-in chat support down in the corner. So at any time, just reach out. We're happy to help. Thank you. Hope you guys have a great day.